Social Security isn't the biggest risk. Medicare isn't the biggest risk. The biggest risk we face is a population bomb. And I don't mean the stupid Paul Ehrlich population bomb, stupid book 1971, where he said we're not going to have enough resources to feed all the people because there's massive increase in population. Essentially, let's abort them all! What's wrong with that? Abort them at the 10th month? No, it's the exact opposite. The population decline is getting worse, exponentially worse by the year. Europe is dying, literally. 20 to 30 years from now, Europe won't exist as you know it. Your ancestral homeland, of which for us white people, is dying, and it will be dead. Does that mean it'll be overrun by Ottoman hordes? I don't think so. I don't know what it means, but it will be dead. And the reason for that is quite simple. Two-income households. And you, if you've got some resources, you have one choice, in my opinion, and one choice only, if you're going to keep your family line going, is to really ramp up a gifting strategy to make sure your kids and grandkids can afford a house, can have the resources in which to start popping out children. There's no other way. You're going to have to start making more with less. Maybe you don't have that big Taj Mahal for a house. Maybe you don't have that big fancy new car, that big upgraded kitchen. Maybe instead of that, you say, hey, I'm going to help my kids out with a down payment or whatever it is. I'm going to buy their car. I'm going to pay the tuition. I don't care what it is. You really need to start helping your children to have children. I was thinking about this today, as a matter of fact, because I get caught for this. Like, man, with how much equity I have in my house, I could buy this. I'm just telling you, I think about it. I said, wait a second. You got to make it easier on my own children in order to do the things they need to do to have children. It's not just whites, by the way. It's Americans as a whole. If you're black, brown, pink, yellow, green, white in America, we're all dealing. It's Europe across the board. It's the West, essentially. We're all in the same cahoots. Two-income households have ruined us. Our lineage is coming to an end. And it's a travesty. Absolutely a travesty. We've encouraged women in the workforce, and we've seen an increase in women's participation in the workforce. I was looking at this thing from the Bureau of Labor Statistics from 1960 to 1992, I think is what it was. The amount of women participation in the workforce went from like 25% to, 75% or something like that. Maybe it wasn't quite that high, but still a significant jump over those 30, 40 years. Whereas the men participation in the workforce actually went down. Not much, but it went down. So what happens when you have two family incomes? Well, that's more money. More money does what for the demand? It raises prices on homes. Less homes being built. More people with more money. They have a higher propensity to buy. Lower interest rates price out other people from the market. Other people, generally speaking, who would want to stay home to raise a family. Now they got to send their woman to work. And it's a vicious cycle they're on. Then they can have 1, 2 kids at max. Their kids are now in this generation saying, I can't afford that kind of house on one income. Takes 2 incomes to afford that kind of house. We don't have that much disposable income. We certainly don't have enough for the crap I got to pay for. And I wouldn't trade it any other way. I've been fortunate to have a good enough job we can afford it. But like I say, if I didn't have an inheritance from my grandma and granddad, couldn't afford the house that we're in, no way. You got to start finding a way to, and I know a lot of you do this with your grandkids, you babysit and stuff like that. God bless you, man. I'm walking up a hill if you're wondering why I'm out of breath. Happy Thanksgiving, by the way. Thanksgiving 2024. My first full day in the Army. Thanksgiving in 1988. Got down to Fort Benning, 3 o'clock in the afternoon on November 22nd. November 20th. 3rd, something like that. Thanksgiving. 2nd day in the Army. 1st full day. Whew. Anyway, you got to find a way financially to support your children. I'm telling you, man, it's a big deal. The numbers are bad. They're ugly. We're not going to be taken over by China. The North Koreans, no. The Russians, no. I don't know what country or sect is going to come to dominate. I don't know what it would be. But the Europe that you know, from which the Irish came, the Scots came, the Wasps came, the freaking Germanic, the Nordics, it's dead. We got sold a bill of goods. Now our lineage is dying. And sadly, there are many left-wing people in this world who love to see that. Oh, the Western whites are dying off. They did it themselves. They bought the satanic principle of wealth being money. Wealth ain't money. Wealth's not net worth. Wealth is family. Wealth is family, dudes. It's crazy to think I have a big family. Got 4 kids. It's not a big family. Back in the old days, that was a normal family. Now it's a big family. And it's getting worse and worse. Pretty soon having 2 kids will be a big family. Some evil stuff there, man. You gotta find a way to help your kids, so maybe your daughter stays home to raise the kids. You know, maybe, I don't know, if she wants to work, she gets a part-time job, something like that. You know, help raise money, put food on the table and all that stuff. I don't know. But they need to have a way to be able to afford a house, to be able to help their children, to be able to pop them out. And if you've been blessed with God's resource, remember, God is seeing how you are a steward of His money. He doesn't need your money. You are a steward of His money. And if you hoard it or you spend it on frivolous things, I don't think that makes God happy. I don't think God's up there saying, you know something? You took your 8th cruise of the year, that's good, as opposed to giving money to your children or grandchildren or whatever. Or if you don't have kids, giving money to a freaking pregnancy center, something like that. And I'm not bashing saying don't have fun. I just think at the end of the day, if you think about the stewardship of God's resources, it puts things in a different perspective, doesn't it? Dude, I'm telling you, man. I'm always thinking like, oh man, look what I gotta do. I gotta put myself right. I gotta get myself right. I don't want my kids to graduate college with a bunch of debt. You know, we gave Maddie a car so she didn't have a car. We'll give Chloe a car so she didn't have a car alone. All that stuff. I'm gonna do whatever I can to support them. Obviously, if they start, you know, freaking smoking meth, I won't. But I want them to be able to find their way and find the relationship. So they can start, you know, popping them out. My boys too. But if they gotta go to freaking work, the first crappy little job they find can pay off college debt, can't afford a house, gotta live with 4 or 5 roommates for 5 years. It's not good, man. Be a good steward of God's money. That's what you put on the earth to do. I mean, we have parable after parable of this in the Bible. But what you're supposed to do with the resources. Why I think Jesus talks about money so much. I read someplace that, you know, there's more talk about money in the Bible, I don't know, by a factor of 10 or something like that, than anything else. Weird, because Paul talks a lot about sexual immorality, but Jesus certainly talked a lot more about money than sexual immorality, that's for sure. Very interesting. Anyway, just keep that in mind. That is the risk. Much worse than Social Security. The risk of the lineage dying off. And what happens next? You ever thought about that? I mean, think about that. I read some guy comment like, I'd love to live in Italy if there's 2/3 less people. I said, you freaking idiot, dude. You think you'll benefit from that? 2/3 less people. What does that mean? Where you get your food from? Where you get your luxuries from? It sounds good in theory. It's not good in reality. All right, God bless. Have a thanks.